What is up, wrestling fans? It is Thursday night. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you know what that means. It means these guys from NI Wrestling are here to talk about all things pro grappling and call it right down the middle. That's right. It's time for this week's edition of NI Wrestling Presents Wrestling Night Live. And we are live on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. We are also on the Facebook, X, Kick, and Twitch channel. Thank you for tuning in wherever you're watching us. I am your host for the show, and I am also the head of NI Wrestling. My name is Rich. Joining me, as he does in the co-pilot share each and every week, he is the man that doesn't need an introduction, yet he has the longest introduction in all of Nerd Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the host of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour podcast, better known as the ODPH. I give to you the host of Turn a Page, the comic book showcase every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. And last but certainly not least, he is the man that is the editor-in-chief of nerdinitiative.com. It is Kenem.
Nerd Initiative Nation, happy holidays. Join us in the chat, super chat, wherever you're listening and watching us from. We want to talk some pro wrestling with you.
And next up, he is a man who is a Pokemon hunter. He is out there to collect them all. But their time, he also likes to watch grown men wrestle in their underwear. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the Beast. Well, the sexy Beast incarnate himself. He is Nick Lesnar. And he's also brought to you by XLEX.
Yeah, apparently I'm brought to you by XLEX this week. You know what, Nerd Initiative audience, we got a lot to talk about, but I have to give a shout out to Marty Stoked. Happy Hanukkah, my friend.
Yes.
Shout out to Marty.
Happy Hanukkah. And this is what, night 2, I do believe? Because yesterday was night 1. I think Christmas was night 1, so it's night 2. So thank you.
Light those candles, Marty.
And of course, for everybody who celebrated Christmas, merry day after Christmas. Hopefully you got what you wanted. Didn't spend any time at the stores returning things. Also, I know Kwanzaa's coming up, so happy Kwanzaa ahead of time. And of course, we're running our way right into the new year. And the final major event of this year of 2024 is coming up, AEW's World's End, which at the end of this episode, the main event subject we'll be talking about the World's End Pre-Show Extravaganza. But before then, and before we dive into talking about, for the first time in a long time, no WWE, by the way.
Yeah.
Interesting. We got the best of the rest, if you will. But before we jump in and talk about all of that wonderful stuff, I got to get some things out of the way. And first and foremost, I need to imply you to go over to the home of pop culture positivity. That's right, nerdinitiative.com. There you will find comics, pro wrestling, movies, TV, news, and more. And if it's not there, well, it's already the end of 2024, but trust me, we've got a huge 2025 planned out for everybody because this is the last Wrestling Night Live of 2024, by the way. Correct. Just want to throw that one out there. Next time we come to you, it'll be a new year. Yes, it is. So make sure you head over to nerdinitiative.com and join the revolution in 2025. You might as well get a head start now. Of course, I also would like to implore anybody who is watching us on Facebook, Kick, Twitch, or X, please make sure you follow us on all those great platforms. However, if you're already on YouTube, you've already got part of this battle done. Get on over to the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. Make sure you smash the subscribe button. Make sure you click the bell icon for notifications so you know whenever we go live or put up a new video. And last but certainly not least, tap that thumbs up so the boss, the GEO, Michael, knows that you want more pro grappling and just standard talk going on. Mm-hmm. Trust me, Nick's pitching specials to come out in the beginning of 2025. So there's a lot more happening in the pipes in the drink. It just means more work for Rich, brother. I'm just saying, I almost hit him with a Miro in honor of his birthday. It's not going to work for me, brother. But we're going to make sure things happen. So with that being said, though, we came here to talk pro wrestling. I know you guys want to hear it. And guess what? Last week we forgot to preview the show because let's be honest, most people forgot the show was a thing, but I did tune in. I did watch Ring of Honor's final battle. And for the first time in a few years, actually the first time since Tony Khan has owned Ring of Honor. It was finally back in the home of Final Battle. That's right, the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, one of the meccas of pro wrestling. We are not going to go match by match. I'm going to go through the whole card, and then we're going to kind of chat about it because, oh boy, there was 13 matches on this card, and we have a whole show to preview later on. So in the interest of time and fairness, I'm going to go through and kind of give you what happened during the night, and then we'll kind of talk about our good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will. Like a lot of good here, by the way. Just throwing it out there. So first and foremost, in the pre-show, we had 4 matches. The opening contest in the pre-show, the Grizzled Young Veterans would defeat the Dark Order in 11 minutes and 26 seconds. Next up, Hanako defeated Harley Cameron in 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Next up, we had a tag team match where the Undisputed Kingdom defeated the Infantry. That would be Charlie Bravo and Captain Sean Dean. I forgot they even still were there. 9 minutes and 56 seconds. And the last match of the opening, which was very tag team heavy, was another tag team match where Gates of Agony would defeat Lee J, which is Lee Johnson and EJ Ndoko, by pinfall, 10 minutes and 21 seconds. Let's start off the actual card. In the singles match, Atlantis Jr. would defeat Mansoor in 11 minutes and 58 seconds. Next up, Shibata would defeat Tommy Billington. That's right, the Dynamite Kid's son. His son, 9 minutes and 49 seconds. Next up, we would have Jay Lethal, who returned as Black Machismo. Yeah. And I was here for that, by the way. Defeating QT Marshall in 12 minutes and 40 seconds. QT coming out to a new NWO-esque theme?
Yeah.
By the way, this was my favorite one for entrances just because of that. We had the NWO-esque theme, and then we had, oh, yeah. And it was good. I was on board for the return of Black Machismo. Just throwing that out. Next up, we had our first championship match of the evening. The ROH Women's World Television Championship was on the line. Your champion, Red Velvet, defending the title against Layla Hirsch, 11 minutes and 49 seconds. And at the end of the day, Red Velvet is still your Women's World Television Champion. Next up, the Pure Wrestling Rules Championship was on the line. And remember, this was to be for a surprise opponent for one Lee Moriarty. By the way, the judges for this match, because as you know, in the Pure matches, it can go to the judges. Your judges were Christopher Daniels, Jerry Lynn, and Rocky Romero. By the way, 3 great
very solid.
On the judges. Lee Moriarty, your champion. He's defending against a man that we were all shocked to see, and the Hammerstein Ballroom went nuts for. Nigel McGuinness returned to the Hammerstein Ballroom, former ROH Pure champion, former ROH World champion. This match got 17 minutes and 4 seconds. Nigel still can go, let's be honest. I see a little bit of that when he took on Bryan Danielson. A little different here taking on Lee Moriarty, but Lee Moriarty is still your Pure Wrestling champion. Hands off, we'll talk about that probably more in a minute. Next up, it was a Texas Bull Rope match for the ROH World Tag Team Championships. Your champions, the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rose and Sammy Guevara, taking on the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. This match got 15 minutes and 32 seconds. And at the end of the day, and still your ROH World Tag Team Champions, the Sons of Texas. Next up would be the Survival of the Fittest match for the ROH World Television Championship. If you remember, Survival of the Fittest is basically a 4 corners match. Very interesting. Anybody can walk out. Your champion going in, Brian Cage. In this match, we would have Willie Mack, Mark Davis, A.R. Fox, Blake Christian, and Commander. This match got 25 minutes and 18 seconds. At the end of the day, and your new Ring of Honor World Television Champion, Commander. Next up, in the co-main event of the evening for the Ring of Honor World Championship, your champion, the Diaz, Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree, Ken's mom's favorite wrestler. True story.
True story.
Send all your Chris Jericho merch in care of the ODPH podcast. Trust me, it'll give you brownie points if you would. In taking on always ready Matt Cardona, who showed up in the Ghostbusters gear in Ecto 1.
Yeah, he definitely was ready to go for this one. Great entrance.
By hook and by crook, with 18 minutes, 27 seconds, and still your Ring of Honor World Champion, the Diaz, Chris Jericho. And in the main event of the evening, for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship, your champion, the forever champion at this point, Athena, taking on her former protege, Billy Starks. This match got 25 minutes and 34 seconds, and the winner, and still your ROH Women's World Champion, Athena. Great match, by the way. And I'm going to start here on my first things before passing it. Probably the biggest mistake of the night, in my opinion. The crowd was really behind Billy Starks, even though she's been kind of a heel, kind of a face. She's kind of been a tweener lately. People are kind of getting tired of Athena being your champion. Granted, we know she's talented and great. Once again, begs the question of why she's not on television for AEW, why she's been champion for like 3 years in Ring of Honor. But this would have been the perfect opportunity, the return to the Hammerstein Ballroom, to have a title change to somebody the crowd would have popped hard for, because let's be honest, Billy Starks has wrestled in the Hammerstein before. That crowd was solidly waiting for that 1, 2, 3. You would have gotten the pop of all pops. And instead, Athena's still your champion. Make it make sense. Can it?
I can't. I thought that this was the time to do the belt switch. It's nothing against Athena, because Athena has been an amazing champion. But I have to echo what you said. Why she isn't fighting for the AEW title at this stage is beyond me. This would have been a perfect time to transition the belt to Billy, because Billy had that crowd ready and excited for that change. It didn't happen. And now it's where are we going from here, because Athena has more or less cleaned out that entire division. So we have to have new challengers step up to go for the belt. And this, I felt it was a missed opportunity.
Nick, do you want to add anything to that or any other match real quick?
Well, I think that was overall the show was missing that kind of a big moment. And that was the perfect opportunity to have an incredibly big moment. And it's a little disappointing. You know, the show was quite long. There were 4 pre-match shows. And, you know, if you're into just watching good wrestling and good in-ring storytelling, sure. But it's a lot of matches to get through. And for a show to go through that, have such strong performances, you know, including from the Learning Tree, Ken, he had a decent match.
Yeah.
But the show was just kind of missing that big payoff. And for that main event, and you didn't get it there, kind of hurt the show overall in a way. It's like, that was the one thing it was missing, and it was right in the palm of your hands to do it.
Fully agree.
Yeah, and, you know, there's some other things. I'm going to say this. It was a great night of wrestling action.
Oh, yeah.
If you have the opportunity to go back, if you didn't watch, go watch Final Battle 2024. Overall, this was a very satisfying night of pro wrestling action. The only questions I have are just like some things. You know, you had Cardona, who has been booked pretty much as a heel everywhere. I get in New York, kind of being a face against Chris Jericho. You know, the setup for this was great, where even Chris Jericho showed up and attacked him at GCW with all the rumors and everything going around between GCW and AEW, especially over the Ricky Starks stuff and et cetera, et cetera. Jericho showing up is a thing, you know what I mean? So we get here, we have a great match. Jericho puts on a show. Cardona has been, you know, top of his tier in the indies lately. For anybody who's been living under the rock for the last 3 years and haven't seen that Cardona is the king of the indies. And we get a good match. Of course, Brian Keith helps him win. Okay, I'm fine with this. But then the return of Bandito. And it didn't look like Bandito was 100% even.
And especially, too, they've been doing the vignettes on Dynamite.
Right. Yeah. But the return of Bandito, Cardona is not I mean, yeah, I guess he was getting cheered because of Jericho, but he's not exactly a babyface.
Yeah. And
here comes Bandito, the white meat babyface Bandito, to save the day. And like you said, he's been coming back into Dynamite. I was okay with the World Television Championship match. You know, a lot of people thought the Commander was the MVP of the Continental Classic, despite the fact that his record didn't show that, which is fine. Somebody's got to get pinned, right?
Yeah.
However, this was a good step up for him. He got a nice little win there. Loved it. I'm a little off, you know, when AEW started, they took their cue from Ring of Honor of having the best tag team matches. You know, and it wasn't that long ago that the late, great Jay Briscoe and Mark Briscoe took on the FTR, not 1, but 2 years in a row at Final Battle, to some of the best tag team matches we've ever seen. And our match for this is Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara versus Vincent and Dutch.
Yeah.
That was the one match on the card I was like, on the main card that I was like,
What has happened in the
let's
state of tag team wrestling in general? It has not been a good year for tag team wrestling.
No, it's not been a good year for tag team wrestling at all. And like one of the biggest takeaways that used to be busted on about the WWE was, hey, we'll just throw guys together and make them a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've seemed to slow that down. And actually, even though tag team wrestling is not completely in the forefront, let's be honest, at least they have real tag teams. And now I think a lot of your tag teams that you see, granted, you have Private Party on AEW television, but we've seen a lot of thrown together tag teams. And sorry, Dustin and Sammy feel that way to me. It's just a weird straight. It's like two guys we don't have anything for, so hey, let's just put them together.
Yeah, I mean their whole connection getting set up for this a couple of months ago was kind of awkward in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So overall, I'm kind of, and it's not. Once again, I don't want to dissert. I think it was a great pay-per-view. If you did not see it, I think you should watch it, Ken.
Yeah, no, in between the ropes, they do great work in ROH, and I wish they had a better platform to get out there and hit a bigger audience. But for storyline purposes, there's a lot of confusing moments that happened here. And I thought that they should have made some choices. Like Athena, she should have dropped the belt to Billy and gone on to, or at least if she's going to retain, then you go to Dynamite champion versus champion. That's the only logical step there. Commander winning, I really loved. I thought it was a great moment. That match was absolutely fantastic. Cardona versus Jericho, yeah, it was solid for what it was. It worked the crowd up. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, it was just a great night of wrestling, but not a lot of substance to it. But that's not the bad thing. But when you're talking about ROH, and for anybody that's watched that promotion throughout the years, Final Battle means something. And this card really was a great show, but it wasn't a memorable show.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Ken. Overall, Nick, what are your final thoughts about Final Battle 2024 Ring of Honor?
Yeah, solid show, but like Ken said, it's supposed to be memorable, and this one isn't really one for the history books.
Granted. Ken, anything to say in closing?
Let's hope next year is a better one that we remember more. But this one is one worth watching, though. If you love in-ring work, this card definitely had a lot of great things that you can watch, especially if you're an up-and-coming pro wrestler. You want to pick up on a lot of stuff they were doing in here.
Absolutely. So, listen, we're going to change pace. We haven't done this in a while. We're going to hit some indie roundup. That's right, the indie roundup. We want to shine a spotlight because there's some big things going down. Of course, next week will be a big New Japan week and everything else. But Game Changer Wrestling, man, after all the controversies with AEW and everything else, has kind of made a little bit of a resurgence here. And this upcoming Saturday, December the 28th, from the historic Washington Hall in Seattle, Washington, GCW is back with Take Care 2024. And you can watch this on Triller TV. If you have Triller TV Plus, it is included. Probably the best $9.99 you'll spend in a month, honestly.
Agreed.
So singles matches. Let's talk about some matches on this card real quick, because I do want to, and then we're going to talk about what GCW has lined up coming up. Alley Catch taking on Viva Van. In a blood sport match, Josh Barnett will be taking on One Call Manders. Rich Swann taking on Gringo Loco. Super Crazy ECW legend and Luchador legend taking on Matt Cardona. The Bollywood Boys taking on Janelasis, Joey Janela, and Megan Bain. And last but not least, in the Game Changer Wrestling World Championship match, your champion, the old Manser, Mance Warner, taking on former GCW World Champion, Masha Slamovich. Also current TNA Knockouts champion. Interesting state of affairs. What are your thoughts just hearing the card? Ken M for Take Care this Saturday.
Very solid. Excited to see Bloodsport happen. Barnett and Manzer, and One Call Manzer. Yeah, that's gonna be great. GCW is still setting a high bar for stuff on the indies, so I'm excited to check this one out. I'll be watching on replay though. That's a great thing about watching on Triller. You can catch it on replay.
Yes, of course, because we'll be watching AEW's World's End this Saturday live. So we're going to be talking about at the end of the show. Nick, any thoughts? I don't know your love for GCW. What's your thoughts about Take Care from what you heard there?
This is a great way for them to cap off the year after a really fun year of GCW. This is a great card, and that's going to be a really nice venue as well. So this show people are going to show up at the GCW show. Those shows are always normally stacked full of fans. It's going to be a hot crowd, and it's going to look really good. The matches should play out really well. watch this on replay because you're going to be watching AEW, but definitely take a look at this on replay because this is going to be a hot show.
So GCW has also made some big news and big rounds because as one man exited, another man had returned. Of course, we'll be talking about the man, the king, the god of this S in a minute. However, Atticus Cogar made a surprise return to GCW earlier, and now we have the return date of his first in-ring action for Game Changer Wrestling, and that will be on the 31st of December, the normal New Year's Eve show, although this year not coming to you from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Instead, it'll be coming from Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. That would be GCW's Till Infinity 2024. Atticus Cogar will make his in-ring official return to Game Changer Wrestling. This past week, though, I understand you got to see it as well, Ken. I don't know if Nick got to see it. Atticus put out a classic Atticus Cogar promotional video that was promoting not just that, but also was promoting his return to a show that's going to take place as GCW will return to the Hammerstein Ballroom on January 19th for GCW's The People versus GCW 2025. So with that being said, what was your thoughts on Atticus's return video?
You know, it's surreal to me because knowing how messy and ugly the original break from GCW was, to see this now come back, it still hasn't sunk in, to be honest. But when Atticus was there, he was going to be the number one heel there. And this looks like vintage Atticus. And I'm excited for this. And I want to see where this goes. But to see him back, there was just a new energy. And maybe it was something missing from GCW. I don't know. It hit me weird watching it. I love seeing it. I'm a big fan of his work. So now to see this come back, I'm excited what he's going to bring to the landscape of GCW because it's definitely changed since him and 440 were there. Mm-hmm. So now what are we going to get? And that's something as a wrestling fan, and especially somebody who's been watching GCW for a long time, I'm really amped up to see.
Well, as we know, his controversial leave and to go start Circle 6, to be the face of that promotion. He was originally at Hammerstein, talking full circle, the original Hammerstein show, which was World on GCW, which met some different kind of reviews because they did a different show than they should have. Mm-hmm. In a lot of people, including me, who was there in attendance for that show. He was originally slated to become the GCW World Champion at that event.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be his crowning night, and instead, it was one of his last nights in the company. There were some things that happened behind the scenes. His exit was definitely marked with a very poignant interview with one Greg Irons, where he did the infamous Dear Brett Lauderdale promo. And of course, in the new video, it teased, hey, when you came to the facility, because they're saying that he's been in a mental facility, when you came to our facility to be healed up, you had made a video diary and you called it Dear Brett Lauderdale. Now you said that you would make one when you were leaving, and now that you're about to leave and return, what are you gonna call it? And of course, on the screen it flashed Dear Brett Lauderdale Part 2. So interesting. We have a beginning and an end, and business is getting done. And once again, sometimes business gets done. Nick, I don't know how familiar you are with any of this, but because we don't usually talk too much indie stuff. That was something we did on 607 TWS primarily, but nice that we're going to be trying to make that back here on the flagship for Wrestling Night Live. Any thoughts on Game Changer Wrestling and Atticus Cogar?
Well, I think this is just another reminder, and every wrestling fan, including the three of us here, always fall into this trap. And this is just another big slap in the face of never say never in wrestling.
Yeah.
Never say never in wrestling. That how many times have we said that'll never happen? And then it does. And then it does. And look at that. Squeaking in one match of the year here, one appearance, and then next year, 2025, off and running. Yeah, kind of cool. Definitely cool.
Speaking of hell freezing over, we had another return this past weekend. This past weekend was the return, by the way, of Combat Zone Wrestling, CZW's Cage of Death. It's been a little on hiatus. In the Cage of Death match this year, we had Judge Joe Dredd taking on Mickey Knuckles. Say what you will about that. I mean, I'm not going to judge. But the most important thing that came out of that is, for the first time in a long time, CZW saw the return of the man, the king, the god of this. Nick effing Gage made his return to CZW. We now know that he will be booked and be on the CZW show, the anniversary show, which is the next show coming up. Lots of things going on behind the scenes with the whole falling out between Brett Lauderdale and Nick Gage, and a lot of things that I don't want to jump into because it's real muddy and nasty. What did you guys think about him returning to Combat Zone Wrestling?
I was very, very shocked. Just because as GCW's popularity has risen, Nick has been the John Cena of GCW. Like, he's synonymous with the company. To see him somewhere else, it doesn't register with me. It's a weird thing, but this is because when GCW was really making the revolution in indie wrestling, and when they're making the initial push to the Hammerstein, and you have that great video vignette that the core talent did at that point, and Nick was featured so prominently on it. To see him now go back to CZW away from GCW, it doesn't seem right. Like, it feels off to me. Like, I mean, more power to him. I hope he finds a lot of success there, but at the same time, like, it doesn't click. It's like when your favorite guitarist leaves your favorite band and goes start something else. Like, yeah, it's great, but at the same time, it's different.
Well, before I turn this over to Nick, you have to remember the last time we saw Nick Gage in a CZW ring was also at Cage of Death. And it was infamously when him and Brett Lauderdale, unannounced, invaded, and it wasn't a work. Yeah. It was real.
It was a shoot, yeah, complete.
Him and Brett invaded the Cage of Death. And GCW was starting this up. That was when GCW was starting the upflow, and CZW was starting its decline. And that was really the death note of CZW for a lot of people. Was the night that RSP's inside of Cage of Death, and here comes Nick Gage and Brett Lauderdale, and DJ Hyde goes after Brett because he's not going to go after Nick. And they just walked into your show and shut your show down.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about Cage of Death, it takes like an hour to put the damn thing up. Yep. And it's after midnight usually when it happens. So the crowd is like, what's going on? They think that there's some working relationship. And meanwhile, it was a burial. Fast forward, like, what is it, 5 years later, 4 or 5 years later, here's Nick Gage entering the cage again, but this time as the returning hero. It's a weird world we're living in for Nick Gage. Nick, your final thoughts on this?
So there's another old phrase in wrestling, and controversy creates cash. But the key thing about that needs to be reminded, though, is you have to capitalize it. So think about this position here. You have the return of Nick Gage. You have a company that's been all over the place. Nick Gage is going to bring people in. He's going to bring eyes on the product. So you need to capitalize on all these shenanigans that's been going on for a while now. But you're going to have eyes on your product, so you need to capitalize on it because he's going to bring people in. He does. He's got a following. So can they capitalize on it? GCW has capitalized on their controversy all year long, and look what they're doing now. They're really hitting some home runs. So can these guys do it as well? We'll see.
I mean, GCW, I'm being completely honest, and this is a fan of the product. I think the 2024 was a bad year for GCW. In the ways of I'm saying that they weren't as hot as they were in the few years past. GCW was on the level where people were talking about, is it the second or third best company in the country?
Yeah.
You know, even when AEW was doing really well, GCW was that third brand above TNA to a lot of people, even though it was an indie. They were doing big things like the Hammerstein and so on. And not saying that they're not still selling things out.
Right. But
they're still doing solid.
It feels like they weren't making the noise that they were making in 2023 or 2022 or 2021 in 2024. It feels like some of the noise, and to your point, Nick, it feels like some of the noise they were making wasn't just like, because there was great in-ring action going on. There was a lot of good like events and fights, and we all tuned into because we're fans to watch them. However, like it was more like, hey, the whole thing with Ricky Starks went on.
Yeah.
And them and AEW, or they have some kind of working relationship with WWE because NXT and WWE. I mean, remember at WrestleMania, CM Punk was at Bloodsport. Like he's taking pictures with people at Bloodsport, and then they've had WWE talent on their shows. You know, main roster talent. The Creed brothers have both wrestled Bloodsport. A lot of NXT talent. You know, like they've done really good work. So that was something that they were being talked about. And I'm not saying that's controversial, but it's more than just the wrestling.
Right.
And then the Nick Gage saga happened. Like we didn't see that coming, him leaving GCW. And so there was that controversy. Like I said, the Ricky Stark stuff most recently. And then I feel like they finally got back into the positive controversy with the return of Atticus Cogar after all of that.
Yep.
And now it looks like they're capitalizing it. And I'm looking to it going, hey, I think Brett and the crew are going to end 2024 with a bang. And we're going to open 2025. And I think that this could be 2022 GCW.
Well, they have a lot of pressure on them, I think, and especially going back to the Hammerstein with the People versus GCW. Like that show has to deliver, and I think for the longtime fans, the pressure to do this is immeasurable. And now for anybody that wants to come in, because like you talked about, they're connecting with an audience that only knows them as, oh, Ricky Starks was there. Okay, what's going on there? And now you have Atticus come back. Like, so they have a very unique fan base that's all going to be tuning in for the first time. So they really have to nail this. But I think we're going to get a good temp in the room at the New Year's Eve show.
I agree. And I will say this. I think this is just prediction. This is not, I don't know. I haven't talked about it with anybody in the know. But I think that, to your point, the Hammerstein return, the People versus GCW, needs to, in my opinion, right the wrongs of the past.
Yes.
I think it needs to be a full circle show. And with that being said, the biggest thing that you do there, in my opinion, Vance versus Atticus. Atticus wins the belt. And then we hit the reset button. We pretend it's 2021 all over again. And we try to build that character back to 2021. And I'm not saying that we go back in time.
Right.
But if you imagine, could you imagine if we can get that fervency behind that? This could be a jumping off point for a huge year.
It'd be monstrous.
Yep.
There's no question about that.
And it would be monstrous for the fact that it would be a full circle moment for Atticus, who, let's be honest, he left, he gambled on himself. The gamble didn't pay off. Not to his own fault, to be honest with you. There's a lot of broken promises and bullshit. Throwing out an S-bomb there. And on the other end, GCW really did grow, but like I said, and I don't want to say it was stagnant because it wasn't stagnant, but I just feel like it wasn't making the noise that it made in the past. And I think one of the big things was they lost the face of the company. And it was very ugly.
Yeah.
I feel like this could be a full circle moment to go, hey, this was going to be our face of the company. We separated. We both gambled. We came out on two different ends. GCW did go on to be really successful. It is still successful. Hey, how about we try this again? And we do it right. We right the wrongs of the past. We put on a GCW show in the Hammerstein instead of what we thought mainstream people wanted to see, which is what they did for World on GCW. And we now put on a real GCW show and say, here we are.
Yeah.
We're on a Sunday night. We're on pay-per-view. Here we are. I think it could be a winning experience, in my opinion.
I mean, the blueprint's there. They just got to go through with it. But yeah, if they could recapture that magic or just re-envision it, I should say, because you're never going to recapture it. But if they can present it in a new light, in a new way, yeah, I mean, it's in a weird sense, it's Atticus finishing his story, as we like to compare with Cody, because, I mean, the story is very different. But if you can get to that one moment in time and then go from there, and this also will answer that what-if question, then I think they really have something magical there.
But isn't that wrestling in a nutshell, Nick? Isn't it always about finishing a story?
Well, it's about finishing a story and then immediately starting the next chapter, right? Because it's never really, it's more like finishing a chapter. Finishing a story is not really necessarily the right phrase. It's more like finishing the chapter. Sometimes you finish a book, but then there's a sequel. You just move on to the next one. So one thing to just highlight, not even just about GCW, just wrestling in general, there's been a lot of wrestling. And this Q4, it seems like a lot of companies have really done a lot of work to set themselves up for 2025. And think about what some of these companies did all year long. GCW, they were kind of stagnant a lot of the year. There wasn't some of the best press, but They're putting some chess pieces now, and they're really stepping up. TNA, they really stepped up, especially this end of the year here. So CZW, they're making some moves there. So wrestling is really in a strong position for a really good 2025, and there's a lot of eyes out there that are willing to tune into all of it.
I mean, I know we didn't talk about it last week, but we'll take a brief moment. I have to interject. The TNA stuff, they're really hoping the controversy creates cast bringing back Tessa Blanchard. That was a very polarizing, especially amongst wrestling fans.
Yeah.
Some people let it lie, and let it whatever. I'm always a fan of, showing, show that you grew, show that whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's a roll of the dice, man. That's one of those, that's a crazy roll of the dice. That's akin. I'm not saying the same, but that's akin to WWE being like, hey, the 30th entrant in the Royal Rumble's Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's like.
Is 2024 become the year of never say never?
I mean, in a lot of ways, it started in 2023 with CM Punk.
So yeah, I guess in the last
it started in November of 2023 with CM Punk, honestly, with the never say never. I mean, wrestling's always been that way, let's be honest. If you're smart in the business, you understand you're going to make business. Controversy does create cash. You know what also creates cash? Real life drama.
Mm-hmm.
When you add a little bit of this person hates this person or doesn't like this person, doesn't get along, and you can do business, it makes money.
Yeah.
And smart people make the money.
Well, we had TNA, invading NXT, and we have WWE guys going overseas. It is kind of the year of never say never in a way, all these things you never normally see,
The giant Omos and Noah. What?
Yeah.
Get him some right. But of course, Nakamura going back for the January 1st show.
Yep.
So the world's going to be looking at Noah again for the January 1st show. I mean, we thought that was just a one-time thing for Muda. And now it's not. It's so there's a lot of moving pieces going on and a lot of really good stuff going on in pro wrestling. And if you're like us and you like that smorgasbord and buffet, you got a lot going out there. So keep your eyes posted. We will be doing a lot more with the indie roundup and a lot of other things, giving some due diligence and time to things that aren't just WWE or AEW on the show. So that's kind of like our New Year's resolution, and why the hell not kick it off with the last episode of the year?
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of big things coming up, and like next week will also be a not as WWE heavy show. Let's be honest. I'm not saying there won't be any WWE news. It will be less WWE news because there's some overshadowing shows, although we will be talking, about WWE's move to Netflix as well. So there's kind of like, it's still there. And it's not like we're down talking WWE, but right now WWE's on a little bit of a break. I mean, let's be honest. They taped a couple shows. We're on a break. And filling that void is some really good wrestling. So I think that this was a perfect week for some of these things to happen in GCW, TNA, and AEW respectively, because they have the stage, because the WWE is kind of like holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing. That's good for the workers. So with that being said, though, we are going to switch gears and we are going to talk about some all elite wrestling, because this upcoming Saturday night, we will be watching AEW's World's End. So you know what that means. It's time for the AEW World's End 2024 Pre-Show Extravaganza. And let's kick this off by saying it's coming to you from a new home. That's right. AEW's World's End goes down this upcoming Saturday, December the 28th, 2024. The 0 hour starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when the pre-show stuff starts. And I think the matches are not until 7-ish, like normal. And then 8 p.m. Eastern is when the main show starts. And I do have that in front of me this time, so I know it's the right time. Just throwing it out there. And it will be resonating from the Edition Financial Arena in beautiful, sunny Orlando, Florida. That's right. Not in Newark, New Jersey this year. Not in Nassau Coliseum in Long Island this year. No. We're coming to you from sunny Orlando, Florida. Ken says it's because the Jacksonville area was booked.
Yeah, I thought I heard something, and if I'm wrong, hit us up on the socials. Yeah, there's something I thought they were trying to get back to Jacksonville for this one, but Orlando's not bad.
Orlando's close enough. Hop, skip, and a jump. By the way, this is not the finalized card because obviously we're recording on Thursday, and trust me, they're going to add more. There is 8 matches announced.
That's not enough for an AEW show.
No, there's going to be more, but 3 of which are all about the Continental Classic. So let's talk about those. In the Continental Classic, we have both semifinal matches, and then we know who will be in the final. So in the semifinal matches, which will both go down at AEW's World's End, we have, you couldn't have booked this better, huh? Will Ospreay taking on Kyle Fletcher.
Well, yeah, I was going to say this is picture perfect booking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm not mad about it, but it's kind of interesting. We got Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. I'm going to get your picks in a minute. We're not going to give the picks right now because I want to say them all. Then in the other semifinal match, we have your Continental Champion, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, taking on the newly crowned King of TP. That's what the Hammerstein crowd thought of him, at least. Ricochet. He went from being, the aerial assassin in WWE, if you will, to being toilet paper. By the way, Will Ospreay's reaction to the TP was hilarious.
Yes.
I did enjoy Will Ospreay's reaction. With that being said, that means the final match will be between the winners of those matches for the Continental Championship. Not only will so Okada doesn't even have to be in the finals to lose the belt.
Yeah.
And if he loses to Ricochet, Ricochet does not become champion. The belt is on the line at the end of the night. So with that being said, what are your guys' picks for each of the matches? And then I'm going to get we're going to give our picks for each of the matches. And then I want to go back around and give the pick for who you think is taking it all. So starting with you, Nick, who do you have winning the two semifinal matches?
I have Okada and I have Ospreay.
Ospreay and Okada. You are up now, Ken.
Ospreay and Ricochet.
Listen, I like both those picks. And I think Will Ospreay is definitely winning his match.
Yeah.
I am also going to side, though, with Ken on this. I'm going to say it's Ospreay and Ricochet because I don't think TK can help himself to not have those guys match up 3 times in the last couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be a better, fresher experience if it's Okada and Ospreay? Absolutely.
Completely.
I'm kind of hoping that Nick is right because I would like to see that match. Hell, if it's Fletcher Ricochet, that's really out of left field, and I'm all about that. But in that case, Kyle Fletcher needs to win. But with our picks going in, Nick, we'll start with you again because we'll just got to do it the round. Who is walking out the AEW Continental Champion from World's End?
Okada, due to Kyle Fletcher interference, to continue that story.
Ken M.
See, I'm torn here because the logical pick for me is Ospreay because I think they want to give him that. So if something should go wrong with the Moxley feud, he can slide right in, get a title shot, and hit the reset button. But I'm just going to go out on the limb just because I want to see the chaos ensue. I want to see Ricochet win. And then maybe because Kyle Fletcher costs Ospreay the match and continues their feud, and then Ricochet can keep telling people he's the MVP of AEW or whatever the current gimmick is now.
Yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah.
The Andrew Tate of AEW, right? Is that what the internet's saying?
Allegedly.
Make me a sandwich, I think it's what I read. Was that a real comment? Yeah. I saw the receipt for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gotten deleted yet. But yeah. Anyways, I'm going to go with you on this. I think Ricochet's going to walk out Continental Champion. I think probably somewhere he was promised a championship. So they're like, there you go. And in AEW, as we know, they say all the belts are equal, right? So I don't think that really works out that way, but whatever. But I can see Ricochet winning this one. Realistically, I do like Nick's pick as well. I like keeping the belt off of Ospreay because of what you said, though, Ken. I like keeping the belt off of Ospreay because, and this is smart booking, if you have to insert him into this Moxley feud to have him be because let's be honest, there's no bigger babyface than Will Ospreay. So if it doesn't get over for Darby Allin to become champion at some point, or circle back to Orange Cassidy or whatever you will, Will Ospreay is obviously the next pick. So keeping him free to get that belt on him, perfect. Him being saddled with another title kind of doesn't help that cause unless you're getting rid of the belt.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go through the rest of the card, shall we?
Yes.
Next up, AEW TBS Championship is on the line. Your, as of right now, double champion, because she's also the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Champion, Mercedes Moné, the CEO. Not to be confused with the GEO.
Yeah.
GEO. She's taken on Chris Statlander. Who had that on their bingo card? A rematch of last pay-per-view. Ken, you get to go first here. Your thoughts on the match and who you got winning?
Puzzled by the match. I'm going to say Monet retains because Willow costs Statlander the match because of reasons. Because I'm really confused at this match. Yeah, I'll be 100% honest.
Statlander's going to go 0-2 to Monet. I'm picking Monet to retain because I don't think they're going to take the title off of her going into Dynasty, where she has a match where it's going to be for all the belts. I think that would be weird. Now, with that being said, the logic going on, they could take the title off of her. And realistically, they should, because I think 2 losses in a row to Statlander is kind of pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty bad for Chris Statlander and her stakes, okay? However, I completely don't think anybody cares. Mercedes Moné, like Athena, is the forever champ for that TBS title because, once again, hey, it satisfies the need to have her have a belt and all that for Tony. So Mercedes is taking the match. Go ahead, Nick. You get to go last on this one. You're riding caboose. Who you got?
Yeah, there's nothing else to say. Mercedes is going to retain for all the reasons we talked about. I honestly don't know who in that company right now that would make sense to take the belt off of her. There are plenty of people who are deserving of it, but who is really going to be the person to dethrone her? I don't really know yet.
I'm gonna let Ken answer, but I will say this: before how long you got, brother?
No, the perfect booking. It's Athena. I think Athena just comes right out after Monet wins and says, like Monet will make some comment like I'm the most dominant champion here, blah blah blah, and Athena just walks out and says, "I've been champ for 2 years. Where's my shot?" And then you can start building that up, even for what was it, Revolution?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can start building up for that. I'd love to see a long build for Double or Nothing, but that's the most logical move to make, in my opinion.
Be the only reason to keep the belt on Athena, first of all. Secondly, though, I can make the argument that that's the reason why you had the title drop from Athena, because then Athena could be like, I've been down here. I've been the most dominant champion. You haven't really done much because, hell, you've had a handful of defenses. And I held the belt for like 3 years because it's more like 3 years.
Yeah, I can't even remember.
I know you can't remember a time she wasn't champion at this point, right?
Yeah.
So the point of the matter is I would say that, although with the belt you can do the same thing, but it would have just been good to drop it. How about Jamie Hayter before they just handled her return so poorly?
Oh, if they didn't drop the ball there, yeah.
How about the fact that sorry.
And that's really that's really the issue that I see is like who really is right now in a credible position, because even Athena's really not. If Monet can cut a promo, she would say, "Who do you work for?" Because no one ever sees you.
True, but here's the thing: you also had a storyline set up with Camille, but now it looks like Camille's leaving AEW.
Yeah,
I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on. There's so many things you could do, but here we are. I'm not going to try to focus on the negatives. Mercedes Monet's winning. Next up, though, is the AEW International Championship match. Your champion, Takeshita, taking on Powerhouse Hobbs. I don't give a damn how out of left field this was. I'm just happy Powerhouse Hobbs is on pay-per-view.
Agreed.
Let me clap for it. And also, I want to say, big Powerhouse Hobbs fans we are. However, I want to say this. This match, by the way, and still, because I go first, and still Takeshita. However, wear a mouth guard while watching this match. I think this match is going to be hard hitting. I think Powerhouse Hobbs, like whenever he has something to prove, giving him all the credit in the world, shows up and shows out. I mean, hell, that's how he injured his knee. The last pay-per-view he was on was because he came and showed up and showed out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen again. Takeshita always shows up and shows out. These two guys are going to go to war. Put a mouth guard in because it's going to be a battle of two bangers, and it's going to be one hell of a banger. This is going to be right up there with any match that Gunther and Sheamus ever had. I'm telling you now, or Gunther and Drew Mack, or whatever we were talking about in the past. This is going to be in that epilogue. I promise you that much. And the winner of this gets the Stone Pitbull.
Yeah.
Tomohiro Ishii Dynasty. Just throwing it out there. Like, not only do you win this match, but you got another hard one to go after. So with that being said, Nick, who do you got?
Powerhouse Hobbs.
Ooh, and no.
Going with Hobbs. I think it's time. I think it instantly makes that title a little bit more interesting because it's been kind of boring for a little while, and that makes it a lot more interesting.
Okay, Ken, sorry.
I gotta go to Takeshita, but I'll say this: I just want this match to have time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really let Hobbs show what he can do. Give him at least 10, if not 15 minutes. It's wishful thinking, but I'm hoping they really let him showcase what he can do, because they could honestly steal this card and have match of the night.
Next up, Tijuana Street Fight for the AEW Women's World Championship. Your champion, the Glamour, Mariah May, she has a little feud with Mina. She's got a little feud with the return of Tony Storm, not timeless anymore. She hasn't remembered that part, but still. But nah, out of nowhere, Thunder Rosa will get a shot at Mariah May. I'm sorry, for storylines, I can't make this up. Like, why? We spent all this time building Tony Storm up in this story with Mariah May. You bring her back as original Tony Storm and not timeless. Okay, whatever. Why don't you have them have the match so Mariah knocks her upside the head? She becomes timeless again. Whatever. But no, they blew the Mina stuff on a random ass episode of Dynamite or Collision.
Yeah.
And now we're just like, hey, you know what? She's going to defend against Thunder Rosa because
reasons.
Thank you. I got Mariah May walking out and still champion. Hopefully Tony Storm gets involved because reasons. I know it wasn't my turn to go first, but I had to get on my platform. So Nick, go ahead.
Mariah May. Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else to say here.
Ken.
At least Thunder Rosa is going to have a cool cosplay costume come out. I will say that. She always does amazing work on the pay-per-views. But no, this is Mariah May. This is the only storyline that makes sense because it's ultimately going to come back against her, and Tony Storm's going to find her timeless persona again to get the belt back. Like, that's how they're setting this up.
Agreed. Next up, AEW Dynamite Diamond Ring is on the line. The only man to ever hold the Dynamite Diamond Ring, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, taking on Adam Cole.
Baby.
That's right. He's got Matt Taven and Mike Bennett in his corner. This match has been set up. Remember, my downside to this before we talk is, MJF said, I'm never fighting you, but somehow we're making this match happen because
reasons.
So, I thought that you should drag that on a little longer, but here we are. I understand there's going to be some shenanigans, and I want to hear you gentlemen. So we're going to start with you, Nick. Who do you got walking out with the Dynamite Diamond Ring?
MJF. The ring it's only size to his finger, so it's just going to stay there.
Is it just me, or this feud, which was the biggest storyline in AEW a year ago, is now an afterthought?
Yep. Remember, it main evented last year's World's End, right?
Yeah, it main evented. Or no, that's the reveal.
That was Wembley.
Yeah.
The reveal was the main event after Samoa Joe won. Sorry, I apologize.
What a long, strange trip it's been. No,
in Long Island, nonetheless.
Yeah. But no, this is MJF all day because the Kingdom is going to turn on Adam Cole. They've been telegraphing this. Why, oh why, are the Kingdom allowed at ringside for no other reason? And the only thing you're going to have is maybe Kyle O'Reilly and Wardlow come out to make the save because there's nothing about this that makes sense. So I'm just going to say, let's just make it completely messy.
You're not even going to get that. I'm agreeing MJF's going to win. Wardlow's going to come down. He's going to be the direct cause of the win because reasons. Back in the camp of them. It's going to look like, obviously nobody's going to come down for the save right away because you have Taven and Bennett out there. They're going to, feign whatever. And then when it looks like they're going to make the save, they're going to turn on Adam Cole. So you're going to have the new Kingdom, if you will, be MJF, Wardlow, Bennett, and Taven. And then we'll have Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and who knows, they might even bring back Bobby Fish.
Oh, no.
So we can actually do the Undisputed Era again. The writing's on the wall. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I just completely was trying to.
You forgot that there was 4 members. So it's going to be 4-on-4 warfare because that's what we like in AEW. It's about the time of year they set up their 4-on-4 warfare, by the way, if you don't remember. They love to do it in December.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now. Undisputed Era, which won't be it won't be Undisputed Kingdom because it won't be a bit Undisputed Generation, some nonsense to play off of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to take on the New Kingdom or whatever MJF calls it. Maybe they'll go back to being the Pinnacle.
Yeah.
and we're going to forget that Wardlow and MJF allegedly hate each other. And, Taven and Bennett are heels anyways at the heart of it. So, whatever. And you know who will care? Nobody. But whatever. I digress. This should be a good match, though.
It'll be a great match, yeah.
That leaves us with what I presume to be the main event of the evening. It is a 4-way match for the AEW World Championship. Our champion, the leader of the Death Riders, Jon Moxley, taking on Orange Cassidy, Hangman Adam Page, and the Switchblade, Jay White. 1 man, 1 pinfall, 1 victory. Not elimination. This is a 1 fall of a finish match. So that means you don't have to outlast. You just have to survive. Ken M, who's leaving? World's End. Your undisputed AEW World Champion.
Because of major shenanigans, Moxley. And there's also that little point where Christopher Daniels now is going to be in the corner of Hangman Adam Page, or was trying to politic that on Dynamite. Like, it made no sense. I am just fearing that what we're going to have at the end of this is Moxley wins because Daniels helps him, and the higher power is revealed to be Shane McMahon.
Continue though.
Okay. And then Kenny Omega comes out to now set up Omega versus Moxley for a future event, and that's who's eventually going to get the belt off.
And then
Moxley.
Cade Kid comes out, destroys everybody, and just takes the belt and smashes it like Mr. Perfect back in the 80s.
Oh, if only though. If only.
I love you, Solo. That's right. I wanted you to finish up. I think you got something right and wrong. Let's go back in history. The historian of the business. Who was supposed to be the original higher power?
Oh God, Christopher Daniels.
That's right. So Christopher Daniels is just going to be the higher power, period. They're going to right the wrong.
Oh my God.
It's coming full circle. Christopher Daniels will turn.
God.
Christopher Daniels will be with Moxley, and we'll find out that he's the higher power. It works on two different levels. He is also one of the figureheads that's in charge on air, right? So that's the Eric Bischoff effect in MWO. And secondly, he was supposed to be the original higher power. Most people forget that Christopher Daniels was supposed to be the original higher power until Vince McMahon was like, he's awful small. But that is the true story.
Yeah.
The rights are getting righted. Moxley is your champion. Christopher Daniels is the higher power. Shane McMahon, we keep speculating. The more we speculate, the more I think it's never going to happen. It's kind of like speculating that Josh Alexander is going to finally show up in NXT.
He is. New Year's Evil. It's happening.
One day we will be right.
Yes.
One day, but it's not going to be today. Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do. Maybe Shane McMahon will come into some point junction, but I think the higher power will be Christopher Daniels, just because for the people in the know, Tony likes to hit it right on the nose. That's why I kept hitting my nose earlier when we were talking about other things happening. It's right on the nose. It's a boop, little boop ski. That's what's going down. You're up next, Nick, to finish us off.
Part one, I don't think we'll see Shane McMahon in AEW. I think that died when the Young Bucks story kind of fizzled out and didn't really work over the summer. I like the Kenny Omega thing. I mean, I like Kenny Omega returning. Seeing him go back at it again with Moxley, I mean, it's rinse and repeat. That means Jay White will go back to doing nothing. Hangman will probably start feuding with Swerve again, and Darby will do Darby things.
Well, he's climbing Mount Everest, so yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, he finally rescheduled that.
Yeah. So I still see Moxley retaining here. This storyline will continue, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Omega returns here, Ken. The only reason I say that is because I think that they're going to save that like in the back pocket. He has said that he's returning at Dynasty pretty much. And originally it was going to be a Wrestle Kingdom, but I think
if he was to return, if he came out and did like commentary for the classic matches, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool too, but I think that you're saving the Moxley moment because you have to. I would do it for a physicality port. And like I said, from Omega sounds. I don't even know if Omega's in country. I honestly think Omega's in Japan already.
Yeah.
He loves being in Japan, and he has a match in a couple weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kenny Omega's not already in Japan. I'm not saying he is.
No, but it's like if you want to believe he's coming back for World's End, like that's the only place I think he makes sense to put him on the card.
I think you could get a surprise out of Samoa Joe if he's ready to return.
Yeah.
You could get a surprise out of a couple guys. The only reason I say Omega is you're saving in the back pocket, and really Omega's been very gung-ho in his press tours, if you will, and keep reminding people that AEW doesn't need him. So that's why he's returning in Japan. And then Tony got mad, presumably, because he was going to return at Wrestle Kingdom to take on Tanahashi. And they're like, not today, Satan. You're going to do it at Dynasty because that's an AEW branded show. So but he gets Gabe Kidd, so we get to see that.
Yeah.
But that's a week away. Well, a week past, but
Yeah, right, I get you.
Yeah. However, that's going to do it for what we know is coming down the pike for World's End. We'll know more coming up on Saturday, and we will be watching it. Real quick, I know we're going to go into the TK overtime, but it's just a yes or no question. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Just yes or no, no middles. on paper, are you buying AEW's World's End? I mean, I know that we all are because we're watching it and do it. But if you didn't have to, is it enough to say thumbs up, I'm buying this, or no? Starting with you, Nick.
It's one of these thumbs ups where it's still up, but it's not like bam. It's just like, yeah, okay, we'll do this.
Ken M.
It's a 55% thumbs up. Not a full yes, but yeah.
I'm going to say this. It's a thumbs up because I know the wrestling is going to be good, but I am not expecting anything that's going to be earth-shattering and groundbreaking. I'm expecting that some of what we just joked about is going to come true.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go, oh boy. But the in-ring stuff is going to be great.
Yes.
We have some great matches on paper. Cole and MJF will be great. Okada and Ricochet should be great. Obviously, Ospreay and Fletcher had a great match, although I guess Ospreay should still be injured, in my opinion, at least, but whatever. You know what I mean? The four-way should be really good. There's a lot that could happen there. Even the women's matches, which they're kind of like, to me, thrown together, but so much talent there that I think that they have to be good. So overall, I think it's a thumbs up if you want to watch real good wrestling. If you're tuning in for stories, folks, brother.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for me, brother. Is all I'm saying there. So it depends on what kind of wrestling fan you are. If not, tune in to GCW. It's happening at the same time. With that being said, though, that's going to do it for the meat and potatoes. But before we get out of here, Nick, tell the fine folks how to talk to you about the Pokemans in pro wrestling.
Pokemon. I have had people message me what their favorite Pokemon is. So I want to know. We're end of 2024. We're moving into 2025. I want to know everyone's favorite Pokemon, and I want to know everyone's favorite wrestler. So you should hit that QR code, hit me up on Instagram, and let me know. Or, as always, you can be here every Thursday where I get to hang out with these two, talking pro wrestling, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all the platforms that Richard knows.
There you go.
Yes.
Ken M, you got a laundry list. Take it away.
Well, first and foremost, if you're new to Nerd Initiative, we love our QR codes here. So click on that QR code. It'll take everything going on with the ODPH. Actually, no episodes this week. Unfortunately, Padawan J is under the weather a little bit. So it's holiday week, so we had a lot going on. So who knows? Maybe Wrestling Night Live will appear on the network this week. We'll be talking. Well, all right. So boom, you'll have Wrestling Night Live in podcast form, courtesy of Nerd Initiative. But if you want to talk about Nerd Initiative, turn a page. Next week, let's get into that. The biggest event in Nerd Initiative streaming history is going down Monday night, December 30th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Cheersies Awards are coming, and this year is the biggest production that we have done thus far. So if you're into comic books, you definitely want to see who's walking away with the most prestigious fan award given out. That's all voted by you, the fans. So we have a lot of surprises in store for that. So you definitely want to make sure you're checking that out. So that's why it's so important to do the homework assignment and don't miss out when that drops.
Bigger production means more work for Rich.
Yes. So we're all for that. Who knows? We might even have more by the time Monday comes. So that said, new comic book day. Nobody does it like the Nerd Initiative bullpen. 30 reviews dropped today because it's, Christmas and most shops are closed. Digital stores were not open too. So if you want to go see about what you should be picking up this week, boom, there it is. And I'll take you there. It's over 30 reviews on site. So you can go find out the best of the best at the shops this week.
Ghost Box number 3, Comixology, original. Find it on Comixology. There you go. Boom. Shout outs. Shout outs to Comixology.
Yes.
That's my pick for the week, ladies and gentlemen. That's just my humble pick for the week.
Humble.
With that being said, if you would like to hear some more of my humble opinions, or actually some more of my not humble opinions, tune in to the 3FN show. Of course, if you want to talk to me on social medias, all the social media links are at that QR code, 3fnpodcast.com. Links to the show are there as well. If you enjoy adult humor and if you enjoy movie reviews, that is your place. This week, dropping tomorrow, because of Magic Mind, dropping tomorrow is, of course, the new episode, which is our review of Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Yes.
Check that out. It's a lot of fun doing that recording, but check it out. Of course, you're not going to, I don't think you'll be surprised. Do some good stuff there. On top of all of that, of course, every week, as Nick likes to point out, you can find us right here at Wrestling Night Live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that, of course, is on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. It is also on the Kick, Twitch, Facebook, and X. So there you go. Next up, let's talk about the home of pop culture positivity on the internet, nerdinitiative.com. Make sure you visit there for all your movies, wrestling, TV, news, and more. this ending on 2024, but make sure you join the revolution of pop culture positivity in 2025. Nerdinitiative.com. Then, because I'm contractually obligated to speak about it, we have merch over there. That's right. Go to that link to check out the merch, or just go to nerdinitiative.com and go to the merch section. Either way, we'll get you there.
Mhm.
Make sure you support some merch there. We have the standard Nerd Initiative merch, but we also have Wrestling Night Live, NI Wrestling, and Turnip Page merch. Make sure you get your hands on some merch. Support the brand. Support pop culture positivity. And last but not least, the QR code on the screen. If you are watching us on Facebook, X, Kick, or Twitch, make sure you hit that QR code, because if you're already watching us on YouTube, you're already there. Half the battle's done. Make sure you get over there. Make sure you smash the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and give that thumbs up to show that you want more wrestling content and content in general on the home of pop culture positivity on YouTube, the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. Well, with that being said, this is the end of the year 2024. This is it.
This is it.
This is the last show. I understand that the first isn't until next Wednesday, so a week from yesterday. However, this is the last time that Wrestling Night Live will be live in the year 2024. And I can say something cheesy like "see you next year," but I'm not going to do that because I'm not that cheesy. I'm also not going to say, I'm out, because I'm also not that cheesy. However, what I will say is, make sure if you go out and you're celebrating the new year, you are safe, because we would like you to tune in 2025. We always preach to be safe. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Christmas. You're having a wonderful Hanukkah. You're having a wonderful Kwanzaa. Whatever you are celebrating, we are behind, and make sure you're having a good time. Make sure you celebrate the new year. You have a lot of fun, and you do it responsibly.
Yes.
Because we want you guys to follow us into 2025. We have a huge 2025 setup, including the Brodies, which will be going down in the first week of, the last week of January. More will be talked about next week's show, because we will be kind of tentatively launching when we will be putting the vote out. So with that being said, for myself, Ken M, and Nick in those funky glasses,
2025.
ladies and gentlemen,
2025.
2020. Oh, you already got the 2025
Yeah, he's ready.
hotness? I can't even see from here, because obviously the computer's not in front of me.
He brought the A game.
But thank you for bringing the 2025s out. So with that being said, for all of us, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And until next week, when we talk more pro wrestling, including previewing New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom, previewing New Japan X AEW's Wrestle Dynasty, recapping AEW's World's End, and all that other great news going down around the world of pro wrestling. Until then, folks, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other once again. And what's that? Oh, yeah. Later, wrestling fans.